I think it's really important to realize that a town's history is composed of many personal histories. One that I'm increasingly familiar with is a German heritage that many Washington natives, including myself, have, and I was interested in pursuing the topic further. My grandma, my Oma, Mariana Schwein, was born in Germany, and she arrived in America when she was only 17 years old. She was sponsored by a family from Washington, so that's how she ended up here, of all places. She didn't know any English at the time, and they arrived in December of 1954, and she started school actually that January, halfway through the semester. She said that it was really difficult at first just because she knew all the information, and actually at that time German education was ahead of American education in that she had already learned what they were learning, but because of the language barrier it was difficult for her to assimilate into the class. But she said that she had a Latin teacher that would sit with her and her family actually after school and just go over and over and over the English. And she met some friends that were her age that would just sit there and all of a sudden be like, pillow, chair, and they would just sit there and have conversations, and it started out as that, just learning words, and it just grew. And she said that immediately the town was very helpful. They helped, her family get jobs, they helped the kids go to school and everything, and she's really proud of the life that they made here, and she's really thankful for all the help that they received. So because of my grandma, my personal history, I knew that when I went to board ed that I wanted to take German as my foreign language. What I didn't expect, however, was how interested I really would be in the culture and how fascinating I would find the people, and how much I would really enjoy the class as a growth in not only, my language, but also really my outlook on my history and the world around us, honestly.
I got interested in German when I was just a little kid. My neighbor, I grew up in Gray Summit, was from Germany, and she was a teacher. And I played with her grandson all the time, and he and I could get into all kinds of trouble together. And so when she would find out about it, she'd make us come in for an hour each day, and she would teach us German. We had little picture books, and we learned German. When I was in high school, German was offered. It wasn't offered my freshman year, but while I was there, it was offered, and I started taking German classes, and I really, really liked it. So I continued in college and got a major in English and German. But it has helped me just by taking it with job interviews. So I always tell my students, it opens up a job interview, because most of the people that will be applying for jobs have taken Spanish or some other language, and an interviewer is usually curious about why you took German, which opens up into, well, I went to school in a German community. I went to Germany and did the exchange program. That works for some kids.
In my German classes, Frau really made it a point to not only focus on the language, but the culture as well. And so many practices we have today were brought to us by the Germans, whether we realize it or not. And I think Christmas time is a really great example of this. We have Germans to thank for our Tannenbaumen, Lebkuchenhausen, St. Nicholas Tag, and baking cookies at Christmas time as well. And beyond that, the settlers who landed here have given us so much more than just, tradition and some really good food, honestly. They brought us life and a really great legacy. We know that by 1799, settlers began living in what is today Washington. The man who's credited with the founding of our city is William Owens. He originally lived in a town called Newport, which is modern-day Union, but due to poor transportation routes, he and his wife Lucinda bought 50 acres on the riverfront of a small but growing community. Slowly, settlers began to arrive. A big group of Germans, originally from Hanover, Germany, landed in Owenstown in the year 1833. Some of the family names included Trentman, Bleckman, Bohr, Regal, and Montel, all names still found in the town today. They actually originally landed in New Orleans, but due to the unsavory conditions, trekked north. When they reached St. Louis, they planned to go farther north to Chicago, but on the way got on the wrong boat and went up the Missouri River instead. However, they just rolled with the punches. They heard about a German town called Marthasville, but unfortunately an illness had struck that area at the time. The ferryman instead took them to the south bank of the river, and they moved in with the Fricke family in Owenstown. As these settlers became accustomed to the new land, and as they bought land for themselves, they began plans for a church. They sent for a priest from St. Louis, and Reverend Barron came and said the first Mass at the site the immigrants had originally landed at. In the 4 years forthcoming, a German priest would travel from St. Charles to say Mass. The first church was a log cabin built in 1838. At this time, Father Minkhouse moved to Washington as a primary pastor and also a teacher. And while all settlers played their part in creating our town, some have achieved national and even international fame.
John Bush was the second oldest son of Ulrich W. Bush. Their family originated from Mainz, Germany. Bush immigrated to America when he was 17. He settled in St. Louis to learn the brewery business from George Bush for 2 years. From there, he moved to Washington to live with his brother Henry. Beer ended up being a really good business, and he established a Washington brewery in 1854. He never was concerned about being a national brewery, nor even a statewide brewery. He took care of Franklin County. John's younger brother, Adolphus, who was a co-founder of the Washington Brewery, and another brother, Ulrich, married 2 Anheuser sisters in a double wedding in 1861. John died in 1894, and his son John Jr. took over the business. Due to Prohibition, the Bush family joined with the Anheuser family in St. Louis to keep the family business alive by selling things such as soda pop, ice, and chips. Franz Schwarzer was born in the town of Olmütz, Austria in 1828. Schwarzer attended the Polytechnic Institute of Vienna, where he studied architecture and woodworking. After college, he studied zither under the highly regarded composer Ludwig Ritter von Dietrich. In the spring of 1866, Schwarzer and his wife Josephine came to America. In New York, they bought property in Missouri. The Schwarzers found pioneer life on the land too difficult and soon moved in 1867 to nearby Washington, where Franz found a ready market for his handcrafted furniture. In Washington, they lived in modest circumstances, while Franz occasionally fabricated a zither for one of his friends. His reputation as a zither maker spread, and in a few years, he was able to work full-time making various models of the zither. In 1873, Schwarzer entered 3 of his zithers in the Vienna Exposition and was awarded the Gold Medal of Progress, the highest award of the fair for his entry. That distinction and his skillful use of publicity increased his business and allowed him to enlarge his operation ultimately to 25 workmen. Schwarzer died in 1904, but the zither business carried on well into the 1920s. Henry Tibb, a Dutch wheelwright, arrived in America in 1867. He brought his family to settle in Washington, Missouri, where he immediately began making spinning wheels and other furniture. In 1872, John Schrank came to Tibb's shop with a sack full of corn cobs. He wanted to know if Tibb could shape them in the form of pipes. Schrank had a few hand-wheeled pipes as demos. Tibb made several more, and Schrank left the office a happy man. Tibb was left with a few extra corn cobs and made some more pipes. He then placed them in his shop window. These sold, and happy customers sent more buyers to Tibb, who soon abandoned spinning wheels altogether and began making Missouri meerschaum pipes full-time. Business grew, and soon father and son Antone expanded the operation. Sales grew, and along the Mississippi River Valley, corncob pipes were common. By 1891, Antone built the area's first electric plant to help power the family's factory and to light the nighttime streets. They also brought the telephone to town. Henry died in 1896, a leading citizen of the area. As fascinating as our history has been and how heavily handed the Germans were in creating our town, I think it's really important to keep that spirit alive and to really keep us in touch with our roots. I think a really cool way that we do that is through the Marbach Exchange.
When I first started teaching at Borgia 17 years ago, members of the Sister City Committee of Washington would come in and talk to my German classes about the Sister City Exchange, which caused me to get interested in it, and I joined the committee. And I learned there that this started roughly 25 years ago. Washington was interested in a sister city and went in search of a community in Germany that would partner with us. And Marbach am Neckar was also looking for an American city because their last one didn't work out. They wanted a town that would be active with them, and we have become very active. We're the most active sister city group in the state of Missouri. And we match up just perfectly. We're the same size, we both have wineries, we both have factories, we have roughly the same population. We have the river, we have the bridge, Stuttgart is St. Louis's sister city, and we're 50 miles from Stuttgart. Ludwigsburg, a town near Marbach, is 30 miles from Stuttgart, from Marbach, and we're 30 miles from St. Charles, and they are sister cities. And the kids are the most active group that we have still, but the firemen make exchanges, the choirs make exchanges, there are other business groups that make exchanges, the Missourian gets involved. And the kids love going over there because the town is so friendly to us, and we try to be just as friendly when they come back this way.
This past summer, I was fortunate enough to be a part of the Marbach Exchange, and I can honestly say that it was probably one of the best experiences of my life. I think what struck me the most really about my experience is the fact that I just felt so at home. Immediately, just like hanging out with all the kids, it just clicked. And you'd think that there would be, this really awkward language barrier, but not at all. I mean, they were, fluent in English, and we had all taken German. So it was just so much fun to hang out and experience their culture through the eyes of people my own age. Another really cool thing is walking through the town, I felt so safe and at home. Like I was walking, through Washington, and just to be able to meet the people and see how accommodating they were to us, and just how they showered us with questions and all sorts of things. It was so amazing just to see the camaraderie that has grown through this exchange. Washington really has such a great heritage, and I think that's something that everyone's really proud of. And I know that through my studies and through my research that I've grown such a deep fascination for the German people and the people who made this town and who really made this life for me. And I'm very proud to live here, and I'm very proud to be a part of this continued German tradition. Vielen Dank für das Ansehen. Ich hoffe, Sie genießen. Gott segne.